Hi, and welcome to this Power Up webinar taking a look at interview techniques. My name is Larry Jordan. I am delighted to have you with us. Whether you're conducting an interview live or recorded, in all cases, you want your guests to look and sound their best so they can help you tell the story you want to tell. So today's webinar is designed to give you the techniques that you can use to do exactly that. Don't assume, as you're putting your interviews together, that the audience knows anything about the subjects that you're covering. Always review the basics, bring everybody up to speed, and never assume that the audience is particularly interested in your program. What you want to do is tell them a story and capture their imagination so they want to stay and figure out how it ends. There's some basic technical rules you want to keep in mind. You always want to talk to your talent before talking to the crew. If the camera blows up, the audio has melted down, the light just caved in, the very first thing you do is turn to your talent and say, you know, we've got a couple technical issues here. You are doing great. Give me a couple minutes to talk to the crew. And then go talk to the crew, because what's happening is the talent is sitting there saying, did I screw up? If I said something wrong, is he angry with me for something? They're going through all this mental anguish trying to think about what is going on, when what you really want to do is say, chill out, you're doing great, we got a couple of technical issues to deal with. And then you go deal with the broken tripod and the camera that's only shooting on the red gun and the fact the lights don't work. All this stuff you can talk over with the crew, but first reassure your guests that they're doing great. Even if they're a train wreck, tell them they're doing great, because they can't help who they are, and now you just got to regroup and figure out how you're going to get good questions from them. There's other things that you want to look at. Always keep in mind that everyone is nervous before going on camera. This has been true of professionals that I've worked with that have been on camera for years and years. So you always want to give your guests a chance to settle in and relax. Never let the gear get in the way of the interview. Set up and test all of your gear before the guest enters the room. Don't force them to sit through lighting checks and mic checks and audio checks. That's what your crew is for. And by the way, there's this really interesting comment of, I want to do everything myself. I want to run the mic, I want to run the camera, I want to interview the guest, and you expect this to look good? Are you on drugs? It just is going to, you can do tech, you can ask questions, but you can't do tech well and ask questions well. Something's going to suffer, and invariably what happens is you get great looking pictures, you got great looking sound, and your guests are just babbling because you weren't able to focus on the content of the interview. I don't care if you have to grab a relative or somebody walking by on the street, but have one person concentrate on the tech and one person concentrate on the interview. But I hear you say, wait a minute, it won't work because I don't have the budget. Well, try begging, because as soon as you focus on, I got to shoot the pictures and I got to make the sound work, you're never going to get good questions, because your head is not in the interview, your head is in the technology. Force yourself to get help. A high school kid would kill to run a camera for you. Get help. Let them concentrate on the tech. You set it up, you light it, you put the mics together, let somebody else run the camera. You focus on the content of the interview. Otherwise, you end up with just really bad interviews. And life is too short to spend time watching, much less editing, a bad interview. More things. Work out production cues with your crew beforehand. For example, when I'm standing next to the camera op, I will tap his leg. That means zoom in. If the audio guy coughs, it means I've got a bad audio recording. Ask the question again. I don't have to discuss with them. We've got this clue system. I was on a road trip, 20 cities, 45, we were doing 13 shows. There were 9 interviews at every show. So it's like 100 interviews in 3.5 weeks. The camera guy, the audio guy, and I were the 3 that traveled around Canada, the United States, shooting these interviews. So in a minute, I'm going to show you where I stand to conduct an interview and where I have the guests sit to get the best looking pictures. But we had this system worked out where we didn't have to say a word during the interview, and yet I knew exactly what the shot was, wide or close. I knew whether we had good audio. I knew whether we had any problems. All this stuff was worked out beforehand with cues. This is why you want to have someone concentrate on tech and a second person concentrate on content. I want to take a second and talk about makeup. Now, I know that makeup for guys is just disgusting. And women would never trust you to talk about makeup at all. But look at this package. It's from Clinique. It's called Pore Refining Solutions Instant Perfector. And what it is it's a mattifier. Doesn't change the color of the skin, it doesn't change the look of a person, but it makes all the shine go away. And the worst thing you can do to make a guest look bad on camera is to have them be shiny. It looks like they're sweating, looks like they're being grilled. And the audience concentrates on how shiny their face is, not the quality of the interview. Always give your guests makeup. Now, don't ever try to make up a woman. She'll just slap you. It's never going to be successful. Give them the makeup tube, say, go put this on and make yourself look wonderful. But a guy wouldn't know what to do with makeup if you handed him the tube and a book of directions. So what you do is you put the makeup on the guy and he's already embarrassed. One, he's going to be on camera, which is terrible. Two, he's embarrassed. So what I've learned is I tell a story. I'm going to share this story with you. I've never told this in public before, but it's a really cool story. Remember this road trip? I was traveling around 20,000 cities in the U.S. doing interviews. I worked with Randy and Brad. Randy was the camera guy and Brad was the audio guy. They were both in their mid-20s. And what I would do is I would be putting makeup on some CEO that we were about to talk to. And so I say, I don't give him a choice. I say, we need to put makeup on you. Come here. It's not like, do you want makeup? Wrong. I'm putting makeup on. So I'm using this makeup, which is like the Clinique. I was using Lancome at the time, which is another, but Lancome doesn't sell it, which is just stupid. Anyway, putting makeup on. And I say, you know, this makeup is not going to change the color of your face. Smear, smear, rub, rub. And I show it to him. It's a cream color makeup, and he realizes it doesn't look blue, and it doesn't look orange, and it doesn't look red. So it's probably okay. And I rub it in, and I say, but what happens is, after you've worn this makeup, about 8 hours after you put the makeup on, beautiful women are going to throw themselves at your feet. Now, first they laugh because it's just not going to happen, but it's intriguing enough that maybe it could happen. So I continue the story. And I say, now, I was traveling with Randy and Brad, and I say this to everybody that I'm putting makeup on, that after 8 hours, beautiful women will throw themselves at your feet. And one time, we went out to dinner after doing about 9 interviews that day, and Randy and Brad were looking kind of tired and embarrassed, more so than usual, actually. And I said, what's the problem? Randy looks at Brad, and Brad looks at Randy, and they both get this sheepish look on their face, and they say, well, we've heard you tell that story about you put the makeup on, and after 8 hours, beautiful women throw themselves at your feet. I said, yeah. And they said, well, we tried some of that makeup today. I said, you did? He said, yeah, and it's been 8 hours and no beautiful women have thrown themselves at our feet. I looked at both of these 25-year-old idiots and I said, well, guys, you know, sometimes there's things makeup just can't fix. So I'm telling this story while I'm putting the makeup on the CEO. And he's forgetting the fact that I'm putting makeup on his face, something that's never happened to him before. And that he's about to go on camera, because now he's caught up in this story. And by the time I finish the punchline, the makeup is done. I've already looked at it under the light. I know that he's not glowing. He looks great. And he smiles and has a great time. And all of a sudden, the makeup is on. He's not embarrassed. He's feeling comfortable. And he's already got a sense that this is going to be an okay thing. So I found that telling this story simplifies the whole process of a very unpleasant situation for a guy, which is putting on makeup. Always have your guests wear makeup. And thinking of makeup, the next thing we need to look at is clothing. A couple thoughts on clothing. Costumes telegraph character traits. And if possible, have your talent bring different shirts to choose from. Now, it may seem obvious, but you want to have your folks wear clothing that allows you to attach a mic. For a guy, it's easy. For a girl, you need to emphasize the fact that they have to wear a mic. And make sure that you hide the mic cable. Nothing looks more bogus than a microphone cable which is running down the front of somebody's shirt or jacket. It's just stupid and shows that you're not paying attention. Keep in mind that HD shows more detail than SD, but far less than the eye can see. You want to avoid white, black, or clothing with small patterns, and this is especially true in situations where you don't have time to light a guest properly. Now, we're going to do a quick demo. Let's go to our wide shot. Megan, can you move over to camera 4? And 4. I asked, put him down in your lap for a second. I'm going to introduce James and Catherine in just a second, but let me just digress for a second, because one of the things I asked Catherine to do is to bring some different costumes. Let's take 4. Hold up the red shirt. okay, and put it so I can see your face. Don't block your face. And I'll hold up the blue shirt. So what we did is, before this show started, we had her hold up all three shirts, the dark blue, the light blue, and the red. And now just hold the red down. All right, red up. Now put the blue up, put the red down. Beautiful. And we say, what looks best? And we decided that the dark blue would look the best. So we asked her to bring a couple of different shirts so we could compare. And it's amazing the difference in how she looks and what it says as we change from one shirt to another. Thank you. Lighting requires an entire webinar on its own. Don't put lights in the guest eyes. It makes them squint and look suspicious. In fact, soft lights are better than hard lights. Now, while a ring of lights called a lens ring is okay, soft lights are much better because it makes skin look a whole lot nicer. Don't rely solely on ceiling lights. They make your people look dead. Use daylight only for backlight, then fill from the front to avoid silhouettes. I mean, there's a lot more we could talk about. In fact, we'll do an entire webinar in a few weeks that looks just exactly at lighting. An interview is nothing if you don't have good audio. So one of the things I decided to do in preparation for this interview is to test a variety of different lavalier mics. I rented, because I'm here in LA, I went to an audio house. I said I want one of everything, so I rented a Tram TR50, a Sennheiser MKE2, a Sanken COS 11, a DPA 4071, and a Countryman B6. These are all high-quality, professional-grade microphones. You just can't get better quality than these five. I wore all five mics, and Debbie in our office wore all five mics. I got the whole office staff together, and we spent an hour listening and comparing to the different mics to see which sounds best on a guy and which sounds best on a girl. The results are that all three of us today are wearing different mics. I'll tell you what they are in just a second. But if you purchase this training, or if you view it in the video training library, we're going to include the audio recording so you can hear all these different mics, EQ'd flat in a soundproof, in a sound deadened room, so you can hear what they actually sound like without any special treatment one way or the other. So you can decide for yourself which mic sounds the best for you. I've got me recording the same dialogue and Debbie recording the same dialogue, so you can make your own choice. Well, here's what we did. Let's go back to the slides. We're using three different mics. I'm wearing a Tram TR50. James is on a Sanken COS 11, and Catherine is on a Sennheiser MKE2. By the way, my goal in audio recording is always record audio at -12 dB. That's where the peaks go, so I've got plenty of headroom if they start shouting, but you don't want it down near -20. Put the peaks at -12. And during the interview today, as we talk with myself and with James and with Catherine, notice where the mics are put. Notice which side of their shirt they're placed on, and we'll talk more about that as we go along. But notice where my mic is. It's between the first and second button on my shirt, and it's in such a fashion that when my head is turned to look at the camera, it's pointing right at the microphone. You'll see the exact same thing with James and with Catherine, and you'll find that they're actually on opposite sides of the shirt because James is looking camera right and Catherine is looking camera left. For the complete version of this online training, please visit our store at larryjordan.com/store and look for Webinar 157. By the way, membership is a great value when you need to stretch your training dollars. A membership to our video training library saves you money and time. You can access all of our videos for a low monthly price of only $19.99. That's more than 1,200 movies, hundreds of hours, all in depth and all up to date. Plus, members can attend any of our Power Up webinars for free. Our training covers Apple and Adobe software. We update it every week, and for more information, visit larryjordan.com/membership. And thanks.